Hi everyone, welcome to the first Paycheck Budget with Me video for April 2022. My name is Jackie and we are enjoying life's journey. Every single Friday I come on here and show you how we do a zero-based budgeting method on my Excel sheet. We adjust the cash flow based on what my husband was actually paid, after what the taxes looked like, and then what we spent at the store, and then we make any changes to future weeks based on what we think might be changing. I did already make a few changes from the monthly budget that you saw on Monday, so we're going to jump on the Excel sheet and take a look at what's going on. We do have 5 paychecks in April, so that is exciting. Real quick before we get started, I want to thank everyone who commented on last week's video. Like I mentioned, anytime you leave a comment on our Friday Budget with Me videos, they will be featured in next week's video. If you leave words of encouragement, we'll be sharing those. If you have any questions, I'm going to do my best to answer them. Or if your budget is different than my budget, then I would love to hear it. So real quick before we jump on, I want to share LK says, "Hi Jackie, glad to see you all doing so well. You look really happy. Congrats to Ricky on the new job. I've been continuing to follow your journey and find it as inspiring as always." Thank you very much. And on Monday, I shared with you the plan for the whole month. We budgeted out every paycheck, kind of see how the cash flow was going to happen. And the big change that I made right away was I decided for the emergency fund, we're trying to build up $3,600. We have $1,000 in the bank right now, so we need an additional $2,600. On that video, I had filmed the video before the updated numbers, so that was a little bit of a change. But also, I decided to just spread it out evenly out of every single paycheck because we want to make sure we are still technically paying ourselves first. So as soon as that money hits the bank account, our savings gets put aside and it's not going to be spent on anything else. Moving forward in May, we will start investing in the Roth IRAs, so I will set up an automatic weekly amount to come out to those accounts. And then around October, when my husband can sign up for his 401k, we'll have that set up automatically as a withdrawal from his employer before the money even hits the bank account. So we want to get in that habit of just paying ourselves first. So we changed that. So $520 a week is what we're going to do. And then I also increased the gas budget to $100 a week. I went through March and I looked at all of the money we spent for the month of March for gas, and we averaged about $117 a week. Now 2 weeks of that, Ricky, my husband, was going to his old job, which was about 50 miles away, so that's one way, about 100 miles a day. And then the other 2 weeks was his new job, which is about 30 miles away, or 60 miles. So we're still in that transition of knowing how much is it really going to be. I originally had 80 budgeted. I went ahead and upped it to 100 because I would rather be safe than sorry, right? And then lastly, the big change I made here was to the grocery/shopping budget. I originally had 110 for the store, and I basically said 100 was for food and then 10 would be for if we needed a household item or personal care items. I decided to go ahead and change it to an extra $20, and I just put $10 for personal care, $10 for household, because we're going to start rebuilding our 1-year stockpile. So we've had a 1-year stockpile of personal care items and household items, and I'm seeing over the last couple weeks, I'm seeing that we're running out of a lot of these things. So I want to go ahead and rebuild that 1-year supply, and then in the future I want to make sure I'm replacing those items more frequently so we don't end up with this big gap like we're kind of doing. So I'm focusing on the personal care items first, just because I have a good set of, I know how much we use and how much we need. And then I'm going to move on to the food category, and I want to try to have 3 months supply of our dinner meals at least. And so instead of stocking up by food item, I want to stock up by meals. So that will come once we have our personal care household items taken care of. But right off the bat, I already did go shopping, and I'm not sharing the grocery hauls with you this week. We will be sharing some other things. So we will be updating that here in a minute. So Ricky's base pay is $30 an hour for 40 hours. And so that's I turn this black because that's how much it was on the pay stub, and that will be automatically deposited into the bank account tomorrow. And then his overtime is $45 an hour, and they're getting 10 hours of overtime right now, and that's what it was, so we'll make this black. And then for the actual amount, I make it orange because this just tells me that this is a number that we are now working as far as the monthly budget goes. For myself, my self-employment, I'm actually anticipating to make more than I originally thought. Originally, I was only going to bring over about 200 and something around the 22nd, but you can see here I have a little bit coming every single week now, so that was updated. So I did bring over 3185, and anything that I'm bringing over is going directly to pay as an extra principal payment on the teardrop trailer. So that 3185 I went ahead and put in our sinking fund savings account, so then at the end of the month I will make the full $400 payment on the teardrop, which will shave off almost 6 months of our loan. I love high fives, right? All right, so coming on down, like I mentioned, the long-term savings, I'm gonna put this as blue because I put on my bank account, I said for them to do automatically transfer from the checking account that the direct deposit comes into. I said automatically for the every single Friday for the month of April for them to put that $520 into the emergency fund savings account. So I'm going to put this as blue, and then we're going to see how it goes tomorrow, whether the check comes in and then it transfers, or if it seems like it's overdrafting or doing something weird. And in that case, I might cancel the automatic transfer and then I'll just manually do it. Now I could set the transfer for the next day, but because I already go on the bank account and I do everything on Friday anyways, I'm not going to want to keep that money in that account for one extra day and then have it automatically transferred. I'd rather just transfer it myself. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but we're going to see if that works. So let's see if we have any comments related to the debt and investing. So Amanda says, catching up on all your videos. We were out of town. Yay for the emergency fund. Yeah, so that's great, Amanda, that you went out of town. Hopefully you guys had a good time. And then that reminds me, when I was talking about when I updated the yearly budget, if you notice, I did not budget a yearly trip this year because we are focusing on paying off the teardrop. So we do have the teardrop, so we do plan on camping a lot, but we aren't going to do our week-long trip that we've done every year before. And then Maggie says, yes, please share the squares. I love seeing them. So I had shared on my wall here how I printed out my debt payoff tracking and our savings account tracking, and so I will be sharing those as we're coloring those in every month during the net worth progress report video. And Jillian says, I agree that it is great to start investing even with debt, as long as the debt is at a lower interest rate than what you can get from the investments. And she said she deliberately has a small mortgage and a line of credit for the car purchase that they are slow paying, and they have more in their investments than they do in debts, but they choose to keep it that way so their investments can grow. Yeah, so I agree with that, and that's kind of why I said, we're still investing while paying off debt. Our debt are low interest because, it's not like a credit card debt where it's like 20-something interest. It's a car loan, which is like 5%. Our mortgage is only like 2.8%. So yeah, I definitely feel like we can do them hand in hand. Ricky, we started his 401k with his previous employer back in the middle of 2018, and since then his investments have grown by like 25%, so definitely higher than even the interest that we're paying on these other loans. Obviously the market's it's up and down, but it's doing really good. With the new, I'm curious to see what options we're going to have with the new employer. Making Me Better says, so pleased you're making such progress. Thank you, and thank you for commenting. Annie for Horses. So we've had a few conversations over the last couple of videos about being spenders versus savings. So she says she used to be a spender. She didn't have much in the way of savings. She says she tends to be very generous with helping people. So lately she's had to learn how to say no with anything dealing with money favors. And she said it's a relief to see her savings grow. She still likes to spend, but now she has a sinking fund for it. Yeah, we're trying to build these sinking funds. I'm trying to be a little more proactive with some of the spending for sure. Ricky is very generous with his money. And it's not so much with people borrowing the money as him spending money on other people or on events. So we get invited to birthday parties or events, and he wants to cook. He's Filipino. So he'll spend on one dish, making like one dish for a party, more than I spend on my weekly groceries. So it's kind of like, but I let him do it because he works hard and that's how he wants to spend it. But I do have to try to reel him in. So he's very generous too. Leslie Colors of Avon, yes, she's debt free. I mentioned that last week. She said, thanks for the shout out, Jackie. You're welcome. And I can almost like picture you yelling the debt free scream. And then Lisa. So we talked about last week how I'm not going to be showing the grocery hauls on Wednesdays, but we're going to I'm going to share some of the resources that I've used, you know, how I've started to learn how to invest and just to get ahead a little bit, how to divide up my money and things like that. So she mentions a few resources that she shared. She said she's read the book My Money, My Way by the Budgeting Mom and Canna Campbell Mindful Money. So that's I'm curious. I might actually read that for fun. She said she checked out Dave Ramsey's 7-step plan because I had mentioned it. We no longer follow Dave Ramsey's plan. I agree with all 7 steps, but we're kind of doing them all at the same time. What we do follow is our zero-based budget. That's what I learned from Dave Ramsey. And then we also talked about different taxes. So we'll come back to that later. But she would love to see, for me to say what type of YouTube, like what type of YouTube podcast, books and stuff am I using for motivation. So this always changes based on what I'm learning because I'm always on there to learn new things. So right now it's been a lot of gardening, canning, stockpiling, preserving, that type of videos. But I'll share that in another video. Heather, yes, she said she's excited for the canning because I mentioned I got a canning book. She said she makes a lot of tomato sauce and preserves it. They call it bottling. Like, she's another one of my viewers who's not in the US. She said nothing says summer as much as opening those jars in the winter. Yeah. And then she said in the end, if you can read a book, you can cook. All you have to do is follow the instructions. So thank you, Heather. Yeah, you've been encouraging me to cook more. And then just another blonde girl. Hey, yeah, she's in Washington State. So we were talking about taxes again. So we're going to come back. We have 2 more comments related to taxes. So we'll come back to that shortly. We have like a little event going on this weekend. Ricky wants to make some type of a Filipino dessert. So I'm budgeting $50. I don't know how much it's going to cost until we go. This Saturday is our daughters are in soccer, so it's their first soccer game of the season. So after the soccer game, we'll head to Lily's and he'll pick up all the stuff. So I might have to change what that ends up being. I am going to put on here, so the emergency fund, like I said, that should be automatically transferred. That $520 should automatically be transferred on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. And I need to add this $50 to this $12, so that's going to be $62. So what I like to do is I'm on the side of my budget template, I'm tracking my accounts. So this is the income. We use this for direct deposit, and then if we ever need to take cash out, this is the card we use at the ATM. The necessities checking account, anything that gets put in that account is for bills. So that money cannot be touched or moved around. Once it's in that account, it's in that account. However, when we're planning ahead and we're a few weeks ahead on some of our bills, or maybe even a month ahead on some of our bills, it goes on our sinking fund savings account first until the week before it's due. So if we come down, so now we're talking about our taxes. So Ricky's pay stub, I estimated 3% for federal taxes. It actually ended up being 3.212%. So I already updated that across the board so I could make that change, knowing that we'd owe a little bit more in taxes. So the federal was 53. Arizona State, we did fill out a new tax form in time. So last week they withheld like 2.7%. We updated our form to 1.3%. So that was updated in time. So that's 2145. Medicare is 1.45%, and then Social Security is 6.2%. So those were all taken out automatically. So I make these black because that money's gone. We're not going to see that money in the bank account. We're not having any expenses for our health insurance, long-term disability, or any of that for the month of April. Those things will start taking effect next month. And then, so for the comments about taxes, so I mentioned how state taxes are different. So obviously in the U.S. we have federal tax, we have state tax, Medicare, and Social Security tax. Every state is different. So that's what we were talking about last week. And I had mentioned how Arizona has a state tax, but some other states may not have a state tax, but then maybe they have other things. So that's what we have here. Just another blonde girl, that's what she was saying, because she had mentioned that her husband has like a labor worker tax. So she said Washington State does not have state tax, but they get taxed. They get lots of tax other ways. So yeah, because I wasn't sure when we were talking last week. And then Lisa, she's in Australia. So she was saying that they pay on top taxes, fire and flood levies for Australia, even if they're not in an affected area. They have toll roads. Yeah, so they're being taxed in other ways as well. Thank you guys so much for taking the time for commenting. Again, if you have any questions or anything that you want me to address, be sure to leave a comment for this week. Out of this week, that's what we're focusing on right now, is because this is the week that my husband gets paid. I shop at Walmart. I did have another viewer, because I had mentioned how Walmart was out of angel hair pasta for like the longest time, and they asked me if I had ever checked out Aldi. I've never been to an Aldi. They actually did open up one, I guess kind of by me, but it's still in Peoria. I live in El Mirage, so it's still like a 20-minute drive, whereas my local Walmart is like a 5-minute drive. So for me, I don't feel like driving all the way over there. And I kind of compared a lot of the pricing, and it seems like it's pretty similar to Walmart. So I like just going to Walmart. It's one-stop shop for me. And I don't really like going to Costco or anything like that, because I don't like buying bulk items. We don't use them in a bulk way. So unless I have a way to then reseal them or something, then maybe I would do that. But yeah, so anyways, so we spent $146.28 at the store. 19 of that was for Ricky, which Ricky, we budget $20 for him anyways, so that's fine. And then we actually spent $6 on personal care and then $17 on household. So it was $3 more than I had planned on. And that's just because I actually had to pick up my daughter some more cold medicine. She's got a cough right now. And we ran out. And then on food, we actually spent $104.28. So we spent a little bit more than planned. We did buy the 60 case of eggs again, and that lasts us like the whole month. And normally when I get it, it's like $7. This time it's like $10, and I'm rounding up, because of sales tax. So realistically, I could divide that up between the weeks, and then I would just take that off of those weeks. So that's what I'm gonna do for next week. I'm actually gonna take that $4.28 off of next week, because we won't be buying eggs the rest of the month, right? So I'm gonna say $95.72. And then for the personal care household items, same thing, because I want to try to stay with like $100. Was that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10? Yeah, so I want to stay at $100 for stocking up personal care and household items. So this week, what we stocked up on for household was I got a big, it's a 10 roll of paper towels. That's like doubled roll. So I do need one more case of that, which I'll be getting next week. So this I'm actually going to change, because it was more like it was 10 and some change. So I'm going to say 11. So we'll say 6 for personal care. Okay, so then what we're going to do in personal care is going to be like the toilet paper, toothpaste. We're also going to pick up some more dish soap, some sponges, those type of things we could probably get this month. At the end of the month, I'll show you everything I was able to stock up on, and I'll show you our basic stockpile area for our personal care household items within the house. So I'm going to make these orange, because that money is going to come into the bank account. And so I'm going to put that here. Now electric, last month was only 40 something, but I'm still going to budget the 75 just to be on the safe side. And if there's anything left over, that will go towards house projects. So now we're going to be able to put the full insurance payment aside for next month. So this is for bills that are due on the 1st of May. So we're basically a month ahead on the insurance, and we're a month ahead on the teardrop, and then we'll have part of the truck payment. And like I mentioned, we're going to do $100 for gas. So I'm going to put that over here, showing that we have that. So if you notice here, I'm filming this on the 31st, and you'll see here all the bill money for the 1st of April is in the necessities account ready to come out. So we have our mortgage, we have our electric, we have our truck, our teardrop, and our insurance. Those are all ready to come out. So tomorrow's gonna be a lot of stuff going on in the bank account. I have that $31.85 in savings now, waiting until we have the $405. So I was gonna budget $30 for eating out, but as you can see, $23.72. Now the reason I decided to budget this, because it is the girls' first soccer game. They usually have one of those Kona ice machines, you know, parked at the field. So we want to make sure that it's their first game of the season. We want to make sure they can have Kona ice. And then they do have like an hour gap between the two games. So I got to make sure I pack up a lunch. So now next week I have the extra $7 because of making up for what I overspent on personal care household items. All right, so then I've updated the other weeks kind of based on, you know, rolling some things around here. But yeah, so we should have $520 into the emergency fund. So then I get to color in some more squares. But yeah, thank you for joining me every single Friday. Thank you again for all your comments and your encouragement. I look forward to making a few different videos for the month of April. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.